Hello everybody, John here, and today onto the garage we're installing our stage 2 Adamesh exhaust system onto Purdey, the XK8. And I fitted one of these previously, so I do know a few of the little tricks and foibles before I get in there. But just a heads up, compared to the stage 1, this is more of an involved thing. This is not plug and play. You've just got to fettle and play around with it a little bit more. It's not a huge challenge. It's just you've got to think about it a little bit more. So stage 2 consists of 2 stainless steel pipes that do your over axle. I'm going in to do this underneath the car. I'm taking with me some exhaust assembly paste. And in a previous video we talked about you get perfectly adequate clamps with the exhaust. I'm just using posh pretty ones because me. So those aren't the standard. First thing of note is you'll note I've got the rear wheels off. And that's not strictly necessary. It does improve visibility and I've done it for filming. So I want you to see up there the exhaust hanger. And it's a very rigid item. It's bolted to a bracket on the rear subframe and there's an eye in it, and you've got to hook your exhaust into there. So it's just worth eyeing it up, and through the wheel arch is the best way to see it and understand it. From underneath it's a little bit more touchy-feely. So yeah, just get your head around that, and it's the same on both sides. Next thing is you want to do a bit of a trial fit. There's 2 pieces to your stage 2. This one goes onto the centre box. Unfortunately they're not labelled left and right, and it's easy to get them mixed up because it's quite a subtle shape. There's 1, 2 bends and a couple of twists in it in effect, so you can get it the wrong side very easily. Now you've got a split end and you've got an unsplit end. The split end has to go onto your existing silencer, and the reason that they're split is so that will tighten up around the exhaust. So split onto the outside of solids, so that gives you one orientation, so you know which end goes on. Next, there's 2 of these, and all you've got to do to get this right is understand that this pipe needs to point almost straight back. It's actually splayed a little out towards the side of the car. So slide that on. And you can see this is pointing almost straight back. And then look at it and say, is the first kink a very slight uphill kink? Uphill kink. If it is, all good. So there we are, that's the correct one in position for that side of the car. I'm going to fit the wrong one for you just so that you can see the difference. So let's take him off. Incorrect one, still using the splits as the guide to, that goes on the outside of that one. Now I can make this point approximately straight back too, but the first subtle kink is down, so this is lower than it wants to be. So again, if I just change your angle, you can see the first kink takes it down, whereas on the correct pipe, which is this one, the first kink takes it up very slightly. There we go. And that's supposed to go on like that. Now the actual over axle pipe, this one, again, you could put the wrong side on, but it's far less likely. And you know that this section is going at the back and this section is going at the front, because again, we've got the splits and we've got a solid piece of pipe. So this needs to go around the outside and clamp onto it. You'll know if you've got the correct hand Two reasons. One, if I orientate that in front of the camera, that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to come along under the car, up and over the axle, and then point out towards the back of the tyre. Out. If you fit the wrong one, then it's going to point in completely the wrong direction. And this is the exhaust hanging bracket. It comes from underneath and points straight backwards and is closer to the diff than it is to the wheel. So this is the correct side for the right hand side of my car. And again, this is a test fit, and I recommend you do it just to get your eye in, to understand what you're doing. Jaguar's system, as we've seen on a previous video, is massively distorted here. There's a reason for that. It's about access. So that's why you've got to think about this, and it's a little bit of a wire puzzle. So what you're going to do is turn it almost upside down, go over the top of the A-frame, over the top of the drive shaft, down the other side, and you can see I'm parallel here to this pipe. So you can see that's going to go together. Your next thing is have a go at hooking it onto the exhaust hanger. Now the exhaust hanger I can see straight up here from the wrong side of it, the side I'm not going to go into. Just have a little go at fishing it into position. Whoops. Because it's not straightforward and it's hooked in. And that hopefully will give us a little bit of muscle memory for when we're trying to do this in anger, so to speak. So now I'm going to put some assembly paste onto the joint. I'm using Firegun brand because I'm familiar with it. I'm not saying it's best, not sponsored, nothing going on like that, as you know in my videos. My tip on this stuff is put a little bit on the outside of this inner pipe, but mainly apply it to the inside of the outer pipe. And that's so when you push it on, you don't just scrape it all back off. It's about the consistency of toothpaste, which gives you the impression it's going to do nothing. But as soon as it warms up, it will expand slightly and then harden up. And so we'll put rather more in here, and I'm going to start by covering the slots from the inside, because they're a potential weak point in the seal. There we go. And then a smear around inside, which is another reason that I deburred this after, deburred the other end I should say, after cutting. You're going to put your fingers in and out of these tubes. It's way too easy to cut yourself if you're not deburring things. Just give you a little view. So, you know, not a huge amount. It's quite thin stuff. There is what you call repair paste, which is an entirely different animal. This is assembly paste, and part of its function is a bit of a lubricant. Now I've almost made a big boo-boo there. Always put your clamp on. It wouldn't have mattered in this circumstance, but it's a really good idea to put your clamps on before you put things together. That way you can get at them. Sometimes you put a joint together and it's impossible to put the clamp on. And we're going to slide this on, trying not to scrape everything back off. There we go. Rotate it to its approximately correct position. And now I'm going to whack it with my dead blow just to push him right on. And yeah, it might need some adjustment, but it's not going to be too far away at that. I've got my nice exhaust clamp. I'm just going to pinch it up and then slacken it back off, just so it stops in the right position. This is a 56-59 inox W5. $56.59, if you do want to use these clamps, is a size that will fit all the joints on this. The joints sort of are, I guess, from 56 to 59 about. There's nothing larger than that, so you'll find one size. Okay, so that's on. Now we've got this thing to play with. Okay, so now we're going to do another little trial fit. Okay, going for the hanger above the axle. Don't make the mistake of sliding this onto here and not onto there. Again, it's a bit of a Chinese puzzle. You have to get them both on at the same time, in effect. And already you see the advantage of my shorter pipe. This is quite the challenge. It's a really good idea to wear a beanie hat or a proper bump hat, really, when you're under the car, because if you're like me and you're not got a lot of thatch on top, so it really easy to scratch your head, and that's not nice. You can see the struggle I'm going to have, and that's with my short pipe. Okay, so I've rotated this pipe to face up so I can better get this in, shortens it in effect, and then can roll the whole situation back down and just about wriggle it into position. So that's a bit of a tip. The reason this clamps on, by the way, I found a really good use for it. It's hard to grip these, but you put the old style clamp on, you've got something easier to grab hold of. Obviously I'll whip that straight back off in a moment. So now we're close. I'm going to put the assembly paste in. Because it's a very well fitting pipe set, again, you'll probably get away without this stuff, but why worry? Stick it on. You don't want to be irritated by a little tiny blow when you've finished installing your lovely system, and then have to try and dismantle it and find the leak and bandage it and all that sort of good stuff. So maybe it's not necessary. Is it worth leaving this item off that just costs a few pounds? Right, I'm just going to put my gloves back on and we will try and maneuver this into place. The big trick, I've got to say, is the exhaust hanger bracket on the exhaust tends to get stuck underneath a member on the rear A-frame, cross member, whatever you want to call it. So it's just not getting it stuck there is the trick. Right, so just going to go the other side. Just tapping the end of the exhaust. Pushing it in to position. Rotate that again now. So that's gone to the right position. I'm just going to go at the back. Now, my main mission is to get the exhaust hanger into its hole. And he's in. It's getting the exhaust through quite a tight space, and then key to it all is getting that bracket that hangs it to go through the rubber bung. Not easy to film. Okay, so get that old bracket off, which was very useful for manoeuvring, but a bit ugly, and then slide my proper one into place. I think I agree, that's a really neat clamping solution. Always check that you've left your bolts in a position where it's nice and easy to get at. Now, I'm going to slacken these off just in case I need any wriggle room when finishing off the rest of the system. Let's move my light, give you guys a better view, if not me. And here is what you should have. So this is the stage 2 going over the axle. You should be able to check it out and it'd be absolutely clear of the seat for the spring mount, whoops, the rear suspension cross brace, cruciform, space frame, whatever you want to call it, the drive shaft and the anti-roll bar. And you should be able to get your fingers between all those and get a good wriggle in its rubber, and make sure you're content that's nowhere near anything. Also at this stage, we're still loose in all of the clamps, so I can wriggle this to the best position. So now, part of fitting this properly is to fit the stage 1, or the tailpipes, you may have standard tailpipes at this stage, back on so that we can position everything and then finally clamp it into position. I think I showed you these previously. These are the original rubbers that come off the car, the Jaguar rubbers. They're okay, they could definitely be reused, but the holes are a little worn. And they're still quite supple considering their age. They look a bit ancient. So I tried sourcing some new ones. Originals are really quite scarce and expensive. this is what you get aftermarket. It's got the right spacing, which I believe is 45. I'll leave a little note for you. And it's got these cutouts in. And I think the original, like most old rubbers, was a natural rubber, whereas this is probably a synthetic. And to get the same degree of flexibility, they put the cutouts in, but it feels overall the same. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to save my originals. That goes up there on that hanger. And you'll note my repainted and undersealed area here that I looked after in a previous video with the harmonic dampers, which are causing still quite some good mysteries. For those of you interested, I thought originally these are only going to be on convertibles. Turns out they're on coupes, they're on convertibles, and so far I've not been able to pin down why. Some cars do have them, some cars don't. Some are obviously just missing because the threaded holes are there, but some cars don't seem to have the threaded holes, and it doesn't seem yet to be a pattern to that. No rhyme or reason for location in the world, year, model, anything like that. So it could be XKR, could be XK8, could be convertible, could be coupe, and we're seeing them on all years. So we need more intel on this. I know it's a harmonic damper. I know it's to take out some of the boom, treble, noise vibration and harshness. Somebody suggested it's to do with scuttle shake, but that doesn't line up with them being fitted to coupes as well. So more intel, please. So trial fit. Over that. And hook on. Okay, just tighten this enough so that it doesn't keep sliding down. So we're hooked on to the mount back here. Actually got the right sort of height, but we're a little bit too far this way. So what I think I'm going to do is the over axle part. I'm going to take the last leg, the bit that comes out this way, and I'm just going to swing it more up, and that's going to push the the front end of this tailpipe towards me, and therefore the tailpipe that way. And also it's going to raise the back end away from you that I'm holding on to now, and that might push that down a fraction. It just feels like the right thing to do, so leave it with me for a second. Probably want to shift it over a fraction more. So I just slacken this. Actually, I need another spanner. And rotate it that way. That's moved it over a touch. And also, I've got this sliding joint here, which I can pull this way just a fraction, again rotating the whole thing. So let's do a little bit of that too. Clamp on, I'll put a shorter bolt in there just to neaten things up. Well, there we are. one side fitted. I'm not going to bore you with doing the other side because obviously the same. I'll go on and do that another day. I have to break off now and get ready for a 4 AM departure for work tomorrow morning. But yeah, first instincts are to just tell you, fitting the stage 2 is eminently doable by a calm, patient DIYer. It's a lot easier, obviously, if you can lift your car up high, but it's definitely doable if you're going to do it on axle stands and ramps. You can definitely adjust this to the right place. I'd recommend looking and trial fitting about taking that 1 inch off the short pipe that comes off the back of the center box, because it gives you that better clearance. But don't just whip it off, check your setup, because hangers are in different places on some cars, maybe manufacturing variations, I don't know. But don't just whip the inch off. And finally, obviously I banged on about replacing my clamps with nicer, prettier ones, and have. But just as I was tidying things up under there, I went and did a last tighten on the clamp where I'd got holding the stage 2 onto the center box, and I popped a bolt, literally sheared through. Now, yes, I was doing it up tight, but it needed to be that tight because I was trying to get rid of the last bit of movement, and this wasn't up to the job, which really depressed me. The bolt that goes through here is only M6, so obviously I need something that's M8 at least. The band is not going to let go, the bobbins are not going to let go, the weak point was that bolt. So for now I've switched it back to one of the things I didn't slag it off, I just said they're perfectly adequate but not pretty. One of the steel clamps, which are obviously very, very strong. So the jury's out on this. I'm going to see if I can get some more significant clamps. This is the right size, it is everything, but it just wasn't up to the job. So I'll see what I can do and report back. But in the meantime, don't chuck them away just yet. My last item on here will just be to adjust the length of the tailpipe. It's got 3 clamping bolts around it, so you can literally just shuffle it, push it in, push it out, till it gets to the position you like and lock it off. Likewise, I might actually take the bolts out, the 3 bolts around it, and put a clamp on, just because and slot it slightly. But that's just a little finessing. It's not something that needs doing. Very pleased, very doable. And next time we look at the exhaust, obviously the other side will be on. I'll share with you any developments on clamps, and we'll maybe get into some more sound tests. So thanks very much for watching, everybody. If anybody sells these, let me know. We're looking for a sort of 60 diameter. It needs to go 56, 57 to 60, maybe a fraction more, with a much more significant bolt. I want to know about it. Bye!